Hi, and welcome to this short tutorial on learning how to back up Fieldtask data onto a laptop. So today we are going to learn how to back up the data captured in Fieldtask. This means the photos you take, all the forms you submit, and back them up to a laptop for safekeeping. Now the reason we might want to do this is because if you're going to be out in the field for many days at a time without access to an internet connection or mobile phone data, all the forms that you submit on Fieldtask, such as your installer form or your community interview forms, all of these are going to be saved on your phone. And there's a risk that your phone might go missing, might get stolen, or your phone might bugger him up and be broken, in which case we'll lose all the data that you've captured. So what we can do is look to back up all the Fieldtask data on your phone every night, and that way it's kept safe. And then if your phone does go missing or break down, it's possible that we can use that data that you've saved onto the laptop to still upload all the forms data that you'd captured. Now what you're going to need for this task is you're going to need a laptop running one version of Windows. You're also going to need some USB cables. Now, depending on the type of phone you have, your phone might take either a micro USB cable or a USB-C type cable. So I'm going to recommend you take 2 of each of these types of cables with you. And additionally, going backwards a little bit, what we'll be looking to do is to test this process out with all the phones you have before actually going into the field. And so that way we'll make sure that you have all the cables you need and that all the phones are set up correctly. The first step that we're going to do is a bit of a preparation step, and so it's something you need to do before you leave. And we need to create a spot where we're going to actually save the data that we back up from Fieldtask. So you need to choose a spot in your laptop. So you can click on the Windows File Explorer icon down the bottom left-hand corner to open Windows File Explorer. Find a location. In this case, I'm going to select the Documents folder, and then I'm going to click on the New Folder button. I'm just going to create a folder called Fieldtask. The naming here isn't essential. Just give it a meaningful name so you'll know where to find it next time. Then under the Fieldtask folder, we're going to create a date folder that stores the dates that we're going to be out in the field. So if we're going to be out in the field on the 10th, 2022, let's create a folder with that name. Let's create a folder with the 11th of the 10th, 22, because we're also going to be out in the field that day. And we're going to be spending an extra day out in the field as well. So create a folder for the next day as well. And you can copy and paste these folders and rename them to make the process a bit quicker. Once you have a folder for each date that you're going to be out in the field, we then need to create subfolders underneath each of these date folders for each of the installers who are going to be uploading, saving data on their phone using Fieldtask. So for example, I'll create a subfolder called Martin, another one for David, and another one for Alan. And you just continue that process until you've got a folder for each of the installers that are going to be using Fieldtask on their phones. Now we're going to select all of these folders. You can either use Control A on your keyboard to select them all, or you can click on the first file, Alan, hold down the Shift key and click on the last folder, Martin, and that'll highlight all the folders in the middle as well. And then we're going to copy those folders. You can do that by right-clicking on the selected folders and selecting Copy. We're then going to go back to the Fieldtask menu, and we're going to click on the next date down, the 11th, the 10th, and click right-click in the white area in the right-hand side window and select Paste. And that's going to paste all those folders in to the folder for the 11th and the 10th. We're then going to click back to the Fieldtask folder, go to the 12th, the 10th, right click, paste, and the same for the 13th. So you would just continue that process for all the other dates that you've got going to be out in the field. So this is now like our placeholder, our storage location for all the data that we're going to back up in the near future. The next thing we're going to do is to actually look at how to do the backup process. So the simple steps to follow are to find the USB cable that's compatible with your phone. You'll be doing one phone at a time, so it'd be good to have all the installers' phones lined up ready to go. You'll need the USB cable, and then all you need to do is plug the USB cable into the phone and then plug the USB cable into the laptop. And generally what you'll see happen there is you might see your phone. It's good probably to unlock your phone before you plug it in, just so you can see any messages that might pop up on your phone that you need to respond to. Once you've plugged in the phone, you should be able to see your phone in the left-hand side window of File Explorer. For example, if you click on this PC, you'll see here I've got Martin's Samsung S9 here, and you'll also see that same phone in the drop-down list under this PC. So that tells you that your phone is connected to the laptop successfully. And if your phone isn't showing up in this list, please keep listening at the end, and we'll go through some basic troubleshooting hints and tips. So now that you can see your phone in Windows File Explorer, you just simply need to double click on your phone to open it up. You'll then, depending on whether you've got an SD card on your phone, you'll either see one or two folders here. Your folders might be called something different. You might have SD card, you might have internal storage. But basically what we're going to do is focus on internal storage, or the phone drive that's showing up here. We're going to double click on that, and then it displays a lot more folders for us to look through. We're going to look for the folder called Android. So you need to double click on the Android folder. Then you need to click on the data folder. Then you need to scroll down roughly to the bottom, and then look for a folder called org.smap.task.android. Double click that folder, double click the files folder, and then inside here you'll see a folder called instances. Now I'm just going to open this folder quickly to have a look inside to see if there's anything in there. Okay, great. I can see lots of folders in here. Some of them are to do with the eSIP, which is a good sign. I also have some other folders in here from other work, which we don't need to concern ourselves with. But you should see some folders inside this instances folder. And if you don't, again, go through to the end of the video for some troubleshooting on where else they might be. So what we're actually going to do is copy these folders and back them up to our laptop. But before I do that, I'm just going to go back one level to the Files folder, and I'm going to right click on the Instances folder, and I'm going to select Copy. Right, so now I've got everything I need to back up all the Fieldtask data that's been submitted on this phone. I'm now going to go back to the folder structure we created earlier. Now, if you remember, I created it under the Documents folder, under Fieldtask, and then let's imagine that today's date is the 10th of the 10th, and I'm going to open the Martin folder. I'm going to right click in this white space, and I'm going to select Paste. And now all the data in Fieldtask, saved in Fieldtask, including the photos, all the forms you've submitted, is backed up on the laptop. Now that process might take 5 minutes to copy across all the data if you've got lots of photos that you've been taking during the day. So you'll just may need to be patient and wait for those copy to finish. The next step would be simply to disconnect the phone from the laptop and plug in the next surveyor's phone that you have and repeat that same process. So all you need to do is plug in the next phone, navigate to phone, Android, data, scroll roughly down the bottom, find org.smap.smaptask.android, click on files, copy the instances folder and paste it into the appropriate folder on your laptop. And that's how we back it up. So that's the quick summary of how to back up Fieldtask data onto a laptop. And the next step we'll look at is what to do when things don't go according to the instructions I've just given. Okay, so the first bit of troubleshooting we're going to look at is what to do when your phone does not show up in Windows File Explorer after you've plugged it in. So the first piece of troubleshooting advice is to plug the phone in again, both to the laptop and to the phone, and make sure that the connection is secure. If that doesn't work, try the other cable, because again, we're recommending you take 2 cables of the same type with you as a backup in case one gets lost or one's broken. If that still doesn't work, if your phone still isn't showing up here on the left-hand side panel of File Explorer, or not showing up under this PC, which might also be called My Computer on your laptop, then the other thing to do is to have a look at your phone. Make sure your phone's unlocked. And what we're going to do is to look at the notifications area of your phone. So to see the notifications area, start from the top of your phone with your finger and swipe down. And then you'll start to see all the notifications. And if you look through the notifications, down the bottom of my notifications, I've got one called, it's to do with USB file transfer, and yours might be called something slightly different. Might be called USB settings or something along those lines. But if you can see something in your notifications area about USB file transfer, then tap that option with your finger to open it. And you can see here, the USB settings on my phone are set to, in the bottom section of the screen, say transfer files / Android Auto. Again, yours might be called something different. It might be called transfer files. It might be called MTP. But the key thing is to, I guess, look at the different options. And you certainly don't want the one that says, charging phone only. So look for one that makes sense to you, that would indicate that it's going to help transfer files to your laptop when you plug in the phone. If that is set, if that wasn't set and you have changed that setting, then you may need to replug your phone in for that setting to take effect. So feel free to give that a try. The other thing that you may need to do is to enable developer options. So go to your phone settings, scroll down the bottom to About Phone. From there, you'll need to navigate to the build number on your phone, and each phone's different, but you can search for your settings to find out where the build number is. You tap the build number with your finger 7 times. I've already done this task, so I'm not going to do it again, but after the 7th tap, it will probably ask you to confirm whether you want to enable developer options, which you'll agree to. And then after developer options are enabled, you can then go back to your settings and you can search for something called USB. We'll just search for debugging. And somewhere down here we should see an option for USB debugging. And you're going to want to make sure that this option for USB debugging is turned on, and that may also help you resolve this issue, and or it might also enable you to change the USB default option of how your phone handles a USB connection. So from settings, you can also search for the word USB, and as I scroll down, I might see something here in the settings called default USB configuration. And this is really, about how your phone is typically going to respond when another device is plugged into a laptop. So with the default USB configuration option here, I just tap that with my finger. Again, it's brought up those same options. So that's another way to get to those options if it's not showing up in your notifications area. So it is a bit tricky to navigate this process because each Android phone is different. They use different terminology. The menus are different. But just by following those key things, try your notifications area, look for a setting to do with your USB. See if you can set that to either something that looks like it's going to transfer files or something called MTP, and that should help resolve the problem of your phone not showing up in File Explorer. The next problem we're going to look at troubleshooting is what to do if there are no files in the instances folder. So if you remember before, under the instances folder, we had lots of subfolders, that each of these subfolders represents one of the forms in Fieldtask. But sometimes our data may not be here, and there's a reason for that, because sometimes if you have a SD card in your phone, the data may be also stored on your SD card. So I'm going to go back to looking at my phone in File Explorer onto this first menu, and I'm going to this time click on the other folder or the other drive, this time, which is called card, and again yours might be called external storage, or it might be called SD card. We're going to do exactly the same thing, but in this on this drive, we're going to click the Android folder, the data folder. We're going to scroll down the bottom roughly until we see org.smap.smaptask.android. Click Files. In this case, there's nothing in here. However, if Fieldtask was storing its data on your SD card, then you may find it in here under the instances folder, which is not present here. But that's just another thing to look out for. Anyway, I think the most important thing with this process is to actually test out each individual phone before you go out into the field. Make sure you can see the instances folder, make sure there's folders underneath the instances folder, and have a practice of backing up data on each phone. And if you can complete this successfully before you leave out to go out and do your work in the field, I'm sure you won't have any problems when you're out there. One final thing to think about is that whilst we've backed up the data onto the laptop, that's a really good step, but we need to do one more thing to keep our data really safe, and that is to make sure that we actually back up the data on the laptop onto an external hard drive or USB flash drive. So in this case, it would just be a matter of copying the Fieldtask folder, plugging in an external hard drive or USB flash drive, and then pasting that folder into that drive. And that way you've got then a copy that you can keep in the car or somewhere else for safekeeping, just in case there's an issue with the laptop. And that's how you can have really good data protection. Anyway, wishing you all the best of luck with your Fieldtask backup. And that's all.